in studio right now is Judge Bernadette Clark. Good morning.
Good morning.
How
Great
are
to
you?
see everybody. I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
I remember the first time you were on my show. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, in a different location.
Different location.
Yes.
A different pay structure for me. Those were the good old days.
The good old days,
Yeah.
right? Well,
Listen, you were running for family court at that time, so
I was,
Yeah.
yes. And I had been a prosecutor, and we talked about a lot of issues because I was prosecuting child abuse and child sex abuse cases. And I felt if I could get into family court, maybe I could intervene in these
Yeah.
children's lives earlier. So, yeah, that was that. 26 years, public servant.
has it been that?
It doesn't seem possible.
No, it doesn't.
And I'm about to have my 30th year reunion from law school graduation.
Wow,
So I've been a
congratulations
lawyer.
on that.
So most of my career has been, 26 years public service, but before that I worked in a private law firm. So
I got to tell you, I watched 60 Minutes last night, and they informed a whole bunch of NYU just informed a whole bunch of students that they've decided to go tuition free for all med students.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
It is incredible. But you think about what people spend on their law degree, what they spend on
It's-
medical degrees. It's such a shame because you'll never get rid of that. You never get rid of that debt. It's
no,
crazy.
And you have to just start paying once you start working,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a burden. Especially a lot of my classmates went down to New York City. You could make good money there, but the cost of living was so
Right.
high, and then pay your student loans on top of that.
Yep.
So that
It's an
was-
issue that we have to
That
deal with.
is,
Yeah.
that is.
Okay, so explain to people what you do in Supreme Court.
Okay, so in Supreme Court, it's the highest trial court in the state of New York. And therefore, we have to be elected in 6 counties, which is a little different than family court or any other court. It's a very unique court. We have general jurisdiction over all civil cases. And in New York City, the Supreme Court justices can handle criminal cases. I could too. I have jurisdiction really over everything.
Okay.
So, but what I do 99% of the time is I hear civil matters, which could be anything from a corporate lawsuit, contract actions, neighborhood dispute, easement problems. I mean, family court, the volumes of books we used were about 6 inches. The rest of the 12 shelves in my
Is what you
office
do, yeah.
is what I do. So it's everything. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about it because there's such a variety. And, people who are injured come to Supreme Court. People who, medical malpractice cases come to Supreme Court. Accident cases.
Yeah.
All different kinds of cases. Anyone seeking redress, municipalities, counties,
Well,
really anything.
there's a battle. There's a battle over an election, over some sort of a Supreme Court gets
Supreme
that.
Court,
Yeah.
yes. I've had many election law cases over the years, and those cases are on an expedited basis
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's not a lot of,
Right. Some
turnaround
cases,
time.
you really need to turn that around
Yes.
immediately, which is tough.
Yeah.
So I should have started out by saying you have officially announced
Yes.
your reelection bid here.
I have, yes. I'm excited about it. I feel my work hasn't been completed.
Yeah.
I'm still very enthusiastic about my job, about getting people through the court system. It's a very stressful time for people to come to court, but I would say 90% of the people that come through there feel that justice is served,
Yeah.
and that's my job
Yeah.
to make sure that the playing field is level so that people can get their cases in. I'm about to start this morning a case involving, it's a contract dispute, but it's going to be a pro se defendant in Supreme Court in a jury trial, which is my first time.
Wow.
But it just goes to show you can be your own lawyer. I mean, we're going to see how that goes.
I always
be
wonder
interesting.
about that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's always it is interesting.
Yes.
They're probably the most interesting cases to watch when someone decides to handle
Yeah,
it
I mean,
themselves.
it's not easy because
Right.
people go to law school. I mean, and even when I got out of law school and I went to a big law firm.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get to go to a trial, an actual trial for years sometimes.
Right.
So to just be in Supreme Court now, and here's the jury panel.
Yeah.
You have to ask questions now, voir dire, to make sure that you are going to get a fair and impartial jury. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is really wild.
Yeah.
So how and that puts you in a very interesting position.
It does.
Because you have to apply the law here. At the same
Correct.
time, you want to be sensitive to the lack of knowledge. How do you handle that?
It's, as I said, it's going to be a delicate balance, listening carefully. I can't favor one party or another.
Right.
And I have to rule on objections. So, everyone is, patience, I think, is going to be my number one attribute today. But also to make sure that there is a fair trial. Both sides need to have a fair trial.
Right.
And so I have to balance the inexperience of the pro se defendant with the plaintiff's right to seek redress in front of the jury. But again, it's not a gotcha. Trials aren't a gotcha moment.
Right.
Trials should be, let's get all the facts out so that the jury can make their decision.
Yeah.
They are the fact finders, not me. I'm there to kind of be a referee in a sense, to make sure that only legal evidence gets to them.
I never thought about how difficult it is for a judge in a case like this. Just because you don't, just by being overly patient with someone, you could almost be favoring them. So it puts you in a very, very difficult spot.
It is, and I've never done it in front of a jury. I mean, I've had people come into court with, and especially in family court, but there's no jury there.
Right.
So, I have to make sure that what I say and what I do is very careful so that no one gets the wrong impression.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd imagine, and I'm not trying to, I don't know who the prosecution's attorney is, but I mean, this defendant may not know when it's an appropriate time to object too. That's got to be a difficult thing as well.
Ask, Are you allowed to?
Are you allowed to object in
the interest of fairness? You understand that this person might not understand. There's an objectionable thing in front of you,
right? And again, I'm speaking generally here,
yes,
not about this case,
right,
not about this case. But yes, those are some of the issues. You guys are hitting all the issues. You have to be, fair and make sure that illegal evidence, meaning evidence that the jury shouldn't hear, gets before them.
Yeah.
So when do I step in? When do I hold back? That's all going to unfold this morning. And
I will go back to my days in years ago in family court. There would be times that your attorney would say to you, "You can handle this one on your own." And I remember that one time. I remember the quote from the judge. It was something like, "Mr. Keeler, let me remind you, you are not an attorney." I didn't think that was a good moment for me.
Well, but honestly, listen, that's why our system is so great, right?
Yeah.
Because the facts ultimately get to the jury. And I'm telling you that, first of all, jurors are very good. Juries take these cases very seriously. I've had many, many jury trials. And
you give up your life. You want to put the time into this.
They do. And they are, they examine, they think about the law. They're deliberate. They go through the exhibits. They're very serious about it. There's something about, our forefathers, something about that dynamic of those jurors in a room, being armed with the law. Now I read them instructions about the law, and they go in there and they dissect the cases, and they always tell me, boy, this was really tough, but the interaction, the questioning that we did amongst ourselves really got us to the verdict.
Right.
And that's
and it's always interesting what they'll pull out, like the questions that they'll ask, some of these high-profile questions. Well, we want to know what the third text message in the fifth day was. And
right,
what
are
they thinking about? But it's all interesting.
It gets to the bottom line, though. It does, even though maybe you think, and you can't read the tea leaves of what the jury's thinking.
Right.
Can't do that because...
although we try.
Yeah, you try. You do try. But I'm excited about another term, and I've worked hard to...
You got us completely sidetracked on this case.
I know.
It completely intrigued us. Like, wow.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
But no, I'm very confident that the attorney on the other side will be sensitive to everything that's going on.
And even the jury has to be sensitive.
They do. And, they're going to see quickly because I say right in my opening instructions, so and so is representing himself or herself today.
So this goes to, I think what you're displaying here is the kind of thought that you put into how much you care and the kind of thought that you put into each case. And the fact that you want to do this for another term is a big deal.
Yes, and at my announcement, I had so many individuals speaking on my behalf and supporting me. Being a judge in a community is a quality of life issue, And I used to say in family court that I was saving lives, getting children out of bad homes and abusive situations. But this court is a quality of life court,
right.
And it affects our whole community. So I was so pleased that I had so many people there speaking on my behalf. And after 26 years, that makes me feel really good. So,
they've made obviously some changes to everything, and we're having are you being primaried?
No, there's
that's
no. It's such a weird thing. Like I said, Supreme Court. So 6 counties. So think of the size of my district that I'm running in.
It's huge.
Bigger than congressional.
Yeah.
Onondaga, Jefferson, Oneida, Lewis, Herkimer, and Oswego, all these counties.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult to.
So when we had to pass petitions in February because of the change of the law, we are passing petitions for delegates. These delegates, so my name wasn't on the petition. It's delegates from the different parties. Democrat, Republican, Conservative, Independents. They pass petitions. Then the people run in a primary, but mostly not, run unopposed. Those delegates are elected, and then in August, which is a move from, used to be in September, the delegates will get together, and they will nominate who is on the ballot for their line.
Wow.
Which is kind of like an electoral college situation.
Yeah.
And so Supreme Court.
And that's only for Supreme Court?
Only for Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And I think the view was, maybe the electorate can't really decide who should be Supreme Court. So we want these delegates to kind of act as a screening mechanism to see who goes on the ballot.
Yeah,
in part because it's such a large area.
And
if you think it's difficult to get the word out today, imagine what it was like.
Like back then.
Yeah.
So party leaders were delegates. So they kind of pick. And so I won't know who my exact opponents are until August.
Wow.
When the conventions meet.
Now, it's interesting because you do have a track record. You're running for re-election. But
yes.
Normally you can't talk about how you would rule on this case or where you stand on. So I actually think this is probably a good system because as a voter, I have no idea where you line up. So we leave it to someone else who's more familiar with your work, what you've done over in the past.
And so we give our resumes out to the delegates and we visit with them, talk to them, let them know about our record. I mean, my record is kind of an open book. It's a public thing. But, you don't want judges speaking about positions because you want – what I do is I'm fair and impartial every day. That's what I do. I listen. Absolutely. There's no positions, and really, there's no Democrat or Republican judge.
Right.
No one's got the market cornered on fairness. Fairness is what judges do every day.
Sure.
And
if we could just treat all of our politics more like judicial races, we'd be a lot better off today.
And you know what? I don't talk about my opponent when I get my opponent. I talk about this is my background. This is how I did in school. This is what I've done for the last 26 years. My life's an open book.
Yeah.
I think I'd be a good judge to be reelected. That's really all you can say.
It's a long way to November.
Yes, it is. But thank you for the opportunity, and I'm ready for the fight.
All right, awesome.
Okay.
Judge Bernadette Clark, Supreme Court judge, and we'll hope you come back.
Oh, I absolutely will.
All right, cool.
I absolutely will. You guys are always really great to start kicking off my campaign.
And we'll be watching today's proceedings. We're all
right.
We're going to be there with a sign.
You have us hooked.
Right. Well, like I said, it's my first time.
Yeah.
So
very
it'll be
interesting.
Good. Yes,
all right, Judge. Thank you so much.
All right.